morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Okay, what I want to talk about today is the Form I-693 or the medical examination for the green card. The reason I want to talk about it is because we have a lot of questions that have come up lately, and I want to explain the process and the requirements and stuff. Okay, so whether you are coming from abroad on an immigrant visa or you're doing an adjustment of status here in the United States, which means you're getting green card here within the United States, doesn't matter through which process. It could be through marriage, it could be through parents, it can be through a job, basically doesn't matter. You will have to submit a medical record for immigration to take a look at. Why? It is required by law. What is in it? So the big item is they want to see if you have any communicable diseases. They want to see if there's anything that you can spread to a wide population and therefore be a threat, I guess, to the public health. Another one is they check for drugs. Obviously, if you have in your system any Schedule I drug, anything that's illegal under federal law, for example, marijuana is legal in New York, New Jersey, California, Colorado, but it is still not legal under the federal law. And if you have any in your system, you will be denied a green card. It has happened many, many times. And the last thing, they want to see if you have any mental health issues. Now, not all mental health issues are a problem, but we have had clients with bipolar, for example. The disorder was revealed and the prescribed drugs were written down, method of treatment was written down, there was no issue, person got their green card. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit on that. So usually, historically, when we prepared the applications for the green card, we told the client to go get the medical, and we would include the medical in the application and send it to immigration, right? The thing with the medical is that you have to submit it within 60 days of obtaining it to immigration. So for example, if you got it in March and now it is September because it took you longer to put together either payment or certain documents or whatever, but your medical has already been obtained, you can't use it. You're going to have to redo it, right? It has to submit within a certain amount of time after it has been done. Because during the Trump administration, the green cards were taking such a long time, sometimes excess of 2 years. And because the medical has an expiration date on it, within the Trump administration, it was 2 years. At some point, it was a year. We switched to sending the packages without the medical form. And then when the people had to go to the interview, we would just tell them, heads up, now you can go get your medical. And we would bring the sealed medical to the interview, which is not a problem. This is exactly in accordance with the law. We were not breaking any laws. So it had two things. One, you did not have the fear that, you have to hurry up and everything has to be done and sent out within that time frame. And number two, you didn't worry about the medical expiring and then needing to spend another $400, $500, $600 for the medical in order for your green card to be updated. So we were trying to save a little bit of money for our clients, have them less stressed out, and no problems. Process has worked. Now that we have not we, but USCIS has moved to a much faster processing for the green cards. Sometimes people get it within 6 months, people get it without interviews. We're going to switch back to requiring medicals prior to the green cards being sent out, because a lot of our clients freak out a little bit when they get a letter in the mail that says you did not submit your medical with your package, and it says deficiency notice, which sounds scary, but it's completely normal. It's just the government reminding you that at some point you are going to have to submit your medical exam. So that's the deal with the medical. Now, what is required in the medical? How does medical work? Whether you're submitting it before sending out the package or you just got your interview notice or deficiency notice and you want to mail it in, you have to go to a doctor that is USCIS approved. There's a website, USCIS. You can put in your zip code and it's going to give you the doctor's information. You go to the doctor will tell you they're going to do a blood work. If they need a chest x-rays, they'll look at your vaccination records, and they prepare medical and they seal it. The medical is sealed, so we have no access to it. If you want us to review the medical, you're going to have to bring us and ask the doctor for a separate copy so the attorney can take a look at it. It is required that the medical is sealed, otherwise immigration is not going to accept it. Several requirements. One, you have to have COVID vaccination or a waiver for COVID vaccination for religious beliefs or deeply held beliefs. I can tell you that during the existence of the vaccine, we have not had a single person being granted an exception. So I'm not saying it is not impossible, because there is obviously an exception, but so far nobody has ever been granted that exception. So I don't know. It seems more of like pro forma exception other than something the USCIS is actually willing to give. Okay, that's one. Number two is the thing that I already mentioned, drugs. We've had this happen in the last year with legalization of marijuana in New York. A person tested positive in the medical and he said, but it's legal. Under federal law, if the drug is illegal, cocaine, marijuana, heroin, methamphetamines, all the popular players, they're all illegal. If you get tested for that, you will get denied. And then depending on the officer, most of the time you just get denied and then you have to refile. Sometimes when we're dealing with immigrant visas, the consulate will actually require you to undergo rehabilitation processing and actually provide proof that you've been clean for this amount of time, months, years, whatever, that you've gone to a rehabilitation facility or got some sort of counseling for the drug use. Okay. So that's number two. Number three, and this is very important. This has come up multiple times in the last 2 weeks. We, as attorneys, do not touch the medical form for a very specific reason. It is a medical form. It's not a legal form. So the entire form has to be filled out by a doctor. It has to be signed by a doctor. It has to be signed by you. That form is out of our hands. We could tell you where to find a doctor. We could tell you the name of the form. But you have to understand, if it's a doctor you found through USCIS, they will have the form because they got accredited by USCIS somehow to perform these medical exams. So they have a knowledge, they've done it before. There should not be any issues. If you go to a doctor and he's like, I don't know what's going on, probably he is not accredited by USCIS and you shouldn't be there. All right. Doctor also cannot say, well, have your attorney fill out the form and then bring it to me. No, it does not work like this. We will gladly fill out any form that has nothing to do with the medical. Medical is for the doctor. It is a very simple form. There's nothing crazy about it. But I cannot know your TB levels or x-rays, or I cannot read your medical chart. I am a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. So it is very, very important that people understand that. In terms of pricing, we have no control over how much it costs. That is why it is on the doctor. They have their own ways figuring that out. We can't negotiate with the doctor. We cannot call the doctor and say, can you give them a discount? We have nothing to do with that form. That form is the one thing that we have nothing to do with, but that is required. The last thing I want to tell you, there have been instances where the medical form has not been done in time for the interview. So for example, your package was submitted in 2021, you got called in for an interview, but they gave you a very short date, because usually USCIS gives you like 5 weeks, but we have had cases where they gave us 5 days, literally, including the weekend. There's no reason to worry. If you are given a short date, or if your medical is late because you need extra vaccine, you need to redo your medical tests and stuff, there's no issue. You can still go and do the entire interview, and then the officer will give instructions on when and how to submit the medical form, whether you can bring it in or mail it in or wait for a request for evidence. If you're awaiting your medical form or you had a very short waiting time, they're not going to deny your case and make you refile. They understand, it's COVID, it takes time, sometimes holidays, extra vaccines. They do understand that they're not going to deny your green card just because your medical is not present. Now, and this also has come up, so I'm going to give you guys a warning. If you're doing a 2-shot COVID vaccine, you are considered to be fully vaccinated for immigration purposes 2 weeks after your second shot, which means that if you got your 1 shot and brought in the medical thinking, well, I got my 1 shot, what's the issue? They're not going to give you the green card until you give them proof that the 2 weeks after the second shot have gone. This has happened more than one time in the last year, however long it's been since the vaccine came out. And the officer will not take your word for it that you're going to go get a second shot. The officer is going to make you take the second shot and then wait 2 weeks and then provide a new medical that you got fully vaccinated. So that doesn't work. So because the green card applications are going much faster than they have been in the last 5 years, the USCIS is catching up, they hire new people. We're having some of them get done in 6 months, some of them get done in 8 months, some of them get done without any interviews at all, even marriage ones based. And if your medical is not submitted, do not worry. If the USCIS wants to waive an interview in your case, they will send us a request for a medical form and they will give us ample time for you to go get it and send it back and then send out your green card to us for you to pick up. Okay. I hope this has been informative. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. I will see you next Thursday.